And we are back with the fourth segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this fourth segment, we are going to be taking a little preview of the next games that are going to be going down in the postseason. So we have Game 2 of the Timberwolves going up against Phoenix. That'll be hosted in Minnesota. And then we have the Game 2 of the Bucks going up against the Pacers. This will be hosted in Milwaukee. And then we have Game 2 of the Clippers in matching up against Dallas. They will be playing in Los Angeles against the in the Clippers uniform. Obviously, since they're playing in Los Angeles, they host the same sort of court as the Lakers. But now this time they will be hosting it as the Clippers, even though they're going to be moving locations for the next season. So the Lakers and the Clippers will no longer share an arena anymore. But other than that, let's go right ahead into the matchups with the Suns and the Timberwolves. So the Timberwolves, they obviously took Game 1 of the last matchup. So the Timberwolves are looking to defend home court and hopefully make the series 2-0 in favor for them, so that way they can go into Phoenix up 2-0 and give them a good chance to win this series against Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal. So they got lucky that Devin Booker and Bradley Beal didn't really play that well in the previous game, and it was basically just KD going up against Anthony Edwards, and Anthony Edwards was able to win that duel. Excuse me. So one of the big problems that Phoenix was going to face in this series was being able to rebound a little bit better than the opposing team, which is something that they struggled with because the length of Karl Anthony Towns and the length of Rudy Gobert was something that Nurkic and Grayson Allen just aren't going to be able to guard, or Kevin Durant for that matter. And there is a question in the chat. Brady Johnson wants to know, does KD have to win tonight to prove that he doesn't need a super team to potentially win? He kind of already has one in with the Devin Booker and Bradley Beal. If they played nearly as well as we're used to them playing, because they're both 30-point per game scorers, and it's really just their own fault that they haven't lived up to that kind of hype. But at the start of the season, they really they've sort of had that reputation of being a super team when they're all healthy. So if they don't win this game, if they don't win this series, because they could pull the ultimate 180 stunt and just come back from down 0-3, which hasn't happened before, but it could happen. But if that does happen, then we might look at this series completely different. But regardless, Kevin Durant does have a good enough team to win in the first round. And if he doesn't win in the first round, I think it should be looked at as a disappointment for Kevin Durant, because this will be around his, I believe, his 17th year in the league, just about. And, excuse me. And the fact that he hasn't been able to make it out of these playoffs without having a ridiculous advantage, it's definitely going to put a stain on his career and his legacy, which is obviously something that he doesn't want. But so far, it's what's proven true. And he really has to win in this. I mean, it would be a lot better for him to steal a game now, so that way he can go into Phoenix and win both of those games. Even though it's the chances of that happening are relatively low, given how much better of an offensive rebounding team the Timberwolves are than Phoenix. And that was really the biggest difference maker when you were looking at team stats for both of those teams. It was the rebounding difference. And even with Kevin Durant's length, it still wasn't enough to go up against Rudy Gobert's length or Karl Anthony Towns' length. So I have a feeling that the Timberwolves are going to continue the trend of the home team winning out and defending home court. And so I think the T-Wolves are going to end up winning this game. The next game on the list is the Bucks going up against the Pacers. So the Bucks sort of got lucky with the Pacers shooting rather terribly from three. I'm not entirely sure if they're going to shoot that badly again in this next game. And I really do not. Also, Brady Johnson says, I know size is killing the Suns. Would they potentially play Bol? I don't think so. Because since it's a very high-pressured playoff game, I'm not entirely sure if Bol would really make that much of a difference because of the difference in strength. And I understand Shaq, he might say, oh, he's the same as Victor Wembanyama. He's really not. And I don't think he's going to be that much of a difference maker for the Timberwolves on the boards. So now with the Bucks going up against the Pacers they shot rather badly. They shot really bad in game 1, but I don't really think that trend is going to happen. Of all the teams that could steal a game, I think the Pacers have the best chance of stealing game 2 from the Bucks. Because the Bucks, they got lucky that Dame was able to be great in just the first half, and that was all that they needed from him. Because he didn't really play that well in the second half. Granted, he didn't really need to play that well in the second half, but still, that's something that should be considered. Because this Pacers team, they were able to get it going in the second half, but it's just since the score was just too great for them, they ended up losing. And it was unfortunate for them, but we'll see how the series plays out. I genuinely think that they have the best chances of winning a game against the Bucks, since the Bucks they don't have Giannis, and it could be seen as a lucky win for them, and maybe the Pacers will figure it out. And then they can go into the series getting ready to play 2 home games, which is something that they would really like, because the Pacers, they do play a little bit better at home, and their style of play is much more beneficial in front of a home crowd. So Dame is going to have to step up in both quarters for this game, and not just in the first half like how he did last time. And if he is able to play rather well, then maybe the Bucks will be able to go up 2-0 in this series, which is something that they also desperately need. Because, again, being up 2-0 in the series and then going to play 2 away games is a much better situation than being tied 1-1, where you're going to have to look to steal a game if you want to even have a chance to win the series in the end. So they're going to have to hope that Damian Lillard plays better than Halliburton. That's going to be the matchup that everyone's really expecting, especially now. And because those 2 guards are rather good and there is some beef between them, and it would just be a really good matchup. Now, the other team that I could see stealing a game is the Mavericks. I definitely see them stealing a game in LA against the Clippers, simply because the Clippers, they still don't have Kawhi Leonard, and don't think he's going to be returning in this next game. So it'll be James Harden, Paul George, Russell Westbrook, and Zubac playing again. Another problem for this team was the offensive rebounding when going up against Zubac. Zubac was just much taller than everybody, and it was every single time that one of the players wanted to go out to contest, he would get the rebound. And that's just not ideal if you are a team like the Mavericks, where you have to like value every single possession and value every single stop, because it's not like you can continuously play that same defense every single time. So they're really like pressuring themselves to be perfect on both ends of the floor and perfectly stop both the offense and like perfectly conduct their offense, so that way they don't have to like focus on getting any more second chances, because getting offensive boards is not something that the Mavericks really prioritize compared to how the Clippers really do it. But despite all of this, the Luka and Kyrie, they're very difficult to guard. And forcing to guard both of them on the same team is not easy whatsoever. So I could definitely see them beating the Clippers in one game, just because like all of a sudden the Clippers are just playing rather well. Like I could definitely see that happening in this series. And with Kyrie playing with Kyrie being able to play well, that's just another task for the Clippers to be able to handle. So Johnson has another question. Does Clippers, if they can stay healthy and get healthy Kawhi, can Clippers be a team to beat? I mean, I definitely think that their chances to have, if they do have Kawhi, they just immediately become greater, and they do become an immediate contender when he's on the team. So I really if you are the Clippers, you try to get Kawhi healthy as soon as possible, and you try to stay alive. Hopefully there is another you obviously you don't want to play more games than you need to, but hopefully that the next team that you have to play in the playoffs is having a much is having a longer series, thus allowing you to take more days off, and thus allowing Kawhi much more healing time, so that way when the time does come, he's able to actually play, and he doesn't have to worry about missing any other games, because you already finished your series, and now it's just waiting on the other team to finish their series. So if anything, they're going to hope that the other team that they're going to play against is taking a little bit longer than usual. But obviously, if Kawhi Leonard does rejoin the rotation, they're going to become a much more difficult team to beat. And again, this Mavericks team, it's no pushover. And they got very lucky that they were able to get a prime James Harden performance, but are they able to do it again? We'll have to see. And that's really the only opinions that I have about this game. Be sure to tune in to all of these games. Again, they start at 7:30 with the Timberwolves matching up against the Phoenix Suns. And that's basically all that I have for you today on this podcast. So thank you for tuning into the GSMC Basketball Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show, leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. And as usual, please remember to tip and to donate to get your comments recognized. And the link is also displayed below the ticker on every show segment. That is GSMCPodcast.net. Really helps the show. It makes the show much more interactive. We have one more comment. And Johnson says, Zubac played well too. Yeah, I was just saying that Zubac was out there helping them get rebounds and helping them, get second chance points, which was one of the biggest difference makers in the matchups and why the Clippers ended up winning. So it's going to be an exciting game. I think all the teams are going to continue with the trend of the home team winning out. So that's basically all I have for you guys in this podcast. And thank you all once again for tuning in. I am your host, Nelson, and as always, take care.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great.